Thank you for tuning in, and welcome back to the Sandwich of Coherency. So let's just go ahead and jump right into this. It's been a long, crazy week. It's been a busy week. And there's been a lot of talk. A lot of talk about guns and shootings and violence in America. I want to point something out. As you sit and watch the media scramble to sell you a story, as you watch Democrats scramble to try and paint you the worst case scenario, and as you also watch Republicans, many of them, try and play a lot of it down, you'll find that they cannot reach any middle ground. But again, you're going to still, even as they try and play it down, you're going to get more of a realistic look at things coming from media on the right. Because on the left, they want to, like I said, they want to paint you that worst case scenario, the darkest. They want to go to the absolute extreme. Now understand there has been a recent case of shootings in America. And it's not really that there are more than you would find. It's just that it seems to be the hot topic of the media. So they're just running with those to make it seem like there is an all-out epidemic. And you have to understand that mainstream news is really only controlled by about two really major companies, that do it. And it's all scripted. It's all scripted. The national news, aside from your small local stories, anything that's a national story is being repeated on every station, on every channel around the United States. Whether it's if you're watching ABC, CBS, NBC, even the Fox local stations, the national story is a script. And the whole idea is to keep repeating that. As long as they keep repeating that to you each night, as they show it on the news every 30 minutes or so, it paints this picture that it is an absolute war zone in the United States. And that is not the case. Now, I do find it funny that in a lot of these recent shootings, especially over the years, past few years, 10, 15 years, why is it so many of these people have being notified, the police have been notified of them, the federal authorities have been notified of them, and apparently they do nothing. They're all suffering some mental instability and nothing happens. These people are not giving evaluations or anything like that, and then they commit some crimes, and it's always like, well, we had no idea. You were talking to them. You were supposed to be experts in picking out who is and who isn't dangerous. But somehow you keep slipping on the ball. Mental health seems to be a big issue with this in the United States. I guess because it's Pride Month, we can't talk about the fact that the Uvalde shooter, wasn't he a trans girl or something like that? Do we ask the question, was he on hormones? Was he stable? People will say, oh, that's sexist. That's transphobic. No, I'm asking a question. And as I've said many times before in previous episodes, I do not care about respecting individuals that commit such heinous crimes. So I really don't give two shits about what his pronouns or his identity is. That's not important. The point is that fuck was a murderer. And innocent children were harmed. So I'd like to know, what was his mental state? We'd all like to know. Because the Democrats in office are really running with it. And they're running with it and using it as a blunt force weapon against the whole of the United States. Because you see, in this situation, they're saying that this young man purchased his weapons legally. More will come out of this investigation as to how he was able to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars on weaponry with no money, no job, no credit, 18. I mean, It's not like they're just giving these things away. That's not how it works. And then you've got leftist rag organizations writing articles saying they ordered weapons online and they were shipped directly to them. No checks or nothing. Well, that's a lie, because that's not how it works. But many people don't know anything about the process of how to go about purchasing weapons, so they believe it. Why? Because they have no idea how it works, and they typically get the information these days coming from 1-minute clips on TikTok or something like that, and then they see the fact that, oh my gosh, this has 2 million views on it and 100,000 shares. Well, it has to be true. I mean, all these people can't be wrong about something as serious as this. The tragedy of the shooting that happened in Texas was it was horrible. And yes, we need to wait for the information about this, about the investigation, about what happened, about what was going on with the officers. And this was a whole debacle. This could have easily been prevented and stopped, but we need to know how it got as far as it did. The Democrats want to jump the gun. So let's just be patient on that front. The tragedy that happened up north, I think it was Brooklyn, with the 10 people that were shot, there was an absolute tragedy as well. But again, we have somebody in contact with a former federal agent. People knew something was up, and nothing was done. Retired or currently serving, nonetheless, most of these people still had contact with federal agents. This includes the the Tsarnaev brothers with the Boston Marathon bombing. Same thing with the guy in Colorado with the Batman, the premiere. When the Dark Knight came out. Off his meds. Mentally unstable. This is a problem. It's a larger problem. But we have one person doing one thing. And as much as it is a tragedy, the Democrats like to use these things as a way to take away the rights of law-abiding citizens. Look at what happened with 9/11. Now, they got the Patriot Act passed. But mind you, that wasn't the first time that they tried it. The Patriot Act, they attempted to pass that before, but it was only after 9/11 that they were able to get it through. And again, some people in another part of the world did something. That's how it was stated by Ilhan Omar. Some people did some things. Now, the reality is, terrorists attacked the United States. We're not foreign and domestic in that case, but that's a deeper dive, and we won't go too far into that because apparently you can still get in trouble for asking questions about these things. But again, they use that to be able to surveil American law-abiding citizens. The idea being that, well, in order to know whom is a terrorist or not, we need to surveil all of you. We need to be able to go through all your private records. We need to know everything. So now you are being accused. And this is what's happening with the gun debate. Situations happen, and the idea is that we must now punish the millions of Americans whom are law-abiding citizens. There's 360 something million Americans in the United States. We have a few bad apples that have committed some terrible crimes, and people have been harmed, and people have been hurt, and this is a tragedy. But you just don't turn around and punish everybody else because of that. I'd like to give an example of what else would we apply their logic to. Whether they purchased it legal or illegal, somebody is driving a car. That person gets drunk. and they cause an accident. 4, 5, 6 people end up dead. Now you got to ask yourself this question. If we go by their logic, in order to protect people, we need to take cars away from all American citizens. Or maybe we should do something and say, well, there's no need for you to have a large vehicle. There's no need for you to have a fast vehicle. If you live in, say, the city, there's no reason for you to have a vehicle that goes over 35 miles an hour. Really, they could say to prevent deaths and make sure people are safe, we need to ensure that no vehicle on the road goes over the speed limits, whatever that region is. So say, I don't know, let's just say 60. Nationally, they could lower the speed limit. A national lower speed limit of 45 miles an hour. No vehicle in the United States is allowed legally to be manufactured to go over 45 miles an hour. That way we can keep you all safe. Something like that. And then they want people to be able to sue the manufacturers of guns when people commit crimes. So you got to ask yourself that same question again. What else would we apply that logic to? Same scenario. Should families of the victims be allowed to sue, say, I don't know, Toyota, if that's the car that the person was driving, because Toyota made the car that the person drove that committed these injuries? It's just like with the situation that happened in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Should the families of the victims should they be allowed to sue the manufacturer of that vehicle that piece of garbage drove when he ran over those innocent people at that Christmas parade? Should we be allowed to sue the alcohol manufacturer that made the beer that the person drank, whether they were legal or illegal? Because they manufactured that beer, that person was able to get a hold of that beer, whether legal or illegal, and committed a crime. And because of that, we should, A, be allowed to sue the manufacturer, B, take alcohol and cars away from all people to keep them safe. No, people will say, well, I need this, I need that. You can't infringe on my rights. And that is true because it's absolutely insane. And believe, it's not just about the guns. They're going to use this as a ploy to, again, same thing with the Patriot Act. They're going to take away more people's rights, and they get you in a state of fear, like the road is crumbling around you, and you just hand them over. And I've said it time and time again, once you give them up, it's going to be damn near nigh impossible to get them back. It doesn't work that way. You've heard it from the squad. Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, AOC, and the bald-headed one. They've wanted to take away your rights. They've openly stated it. They said the Constitution needs to be taken away. It needs to be redone. These are the same people that want to take away children from people for not doing what the Democrats say. You got to ask yourself, do you really, really put that much faith in these people? Because anybody who wants to take away your ability to defend yourself is not on your side. Again, when people say they want to take away your rights to protect you, that never works out in any country in the world. Never works out that way. But I want to play a few clips so you can get a better idea of what the Democrats really feel, and give you an idea of where they're headed if we are not wise enough to remove them come this November. So let's go ahead and start with David Cicilline.
So spare me the bullshit about constitutional rights.
Would the gentleman yield?
No, I will not yield, and I'm not going to yield for my entire 5 minutes, so don't ask again.
To him, your constitutional rights are bullshit. Yes. And let's see, what does Jerry Nadler think about guns and children?
Different ages for different purposes. We recognize 18 for the draft. We recognize 16 for driving in some states. We recognize 21 for drinking. So we recognize different ages for different purposes. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Could I have a second to engage that?
Certainly. I'll yield to the gentleman from Kentucky.
Would the chairman join me in co-sponsoring a bill to raise the draft age to 21?
No.
But the chairman feels that their brains aren't fully formed at 18, 19, and 20.
The research does indicate that in certain respects, but the Selective Service needs, I mean, if the country needs people, it needs people.
It needs people whose brains aren't fully formed?
In certain respects, yes.
Yeah. If the country needs bodies, it needs bodies. Yeah, no, according to them, the study shows that the brains are not fully developed. You're not mentally developed, according to them, to be able to own a firearm, but you are mentally able enough to go fight and die. You are mentally able enough to serve life in prison. And apparently at 5 and at 3 and at 2 and at 1, you're mentally able to know that you want to be gender reassigned. You have to pick one. Again, to them, it's all about protecting children. We have to protect the kids. Let's have one more. And this is Mondaire Jones, Democrat from New York. He says it as plain as day.
You will not stop us from advancing the Protecting Our Kids Act today. You will not stop us from passing it in the House next week, and you will not stop us there. If the filibuster obstructs us, we will abolish it. If the Supreme Court objects, we will expand it, and we will not rest until we have taken weapons of war out of circulation.
If the filibuster, we will abolish it. If the Supreme Court doesn't work, we'll expand the Supreme Court. I mean, they've openly stated multiple times they're willing to lie, cheat, and steal to get their way. I mean, they have no qualms anymore about coming out and saying it. And the thing is they've been saying it for years, and people act like, oh, no, they're never going to do that. That's never going to happen. They're getting closer. You've given them the power to do it. And see, the thing is, it's just like Biden said, like the Second Amendment, is not like no amendment is absolute. And and at the current moment, I'm just going to go ahead and say that, yeah, let's just go ahead and keep the amendments as they are in absolute. I'd like to believe that, yeah, it takes a lot of work. You need a whole lot of votes and changes to make agreements nationally. 2/3 of the House and the Senate. There's no filibuster. No, it has to be. Getting an amendment changed is not easy. It's hard work. But the problem is that the rate that the country is now with those that are in charge, I'm not comfortable with them trying to change amendments. Them saying that no amendment is absolute. Them saying that we should change the Constitution. We should abolish the Constitution. No. Mind you, these are the same people that tell you you don't need guns. You got the police. You can call the police. You don't need guns in your home because you can call the police. These are the same people at the same time saying we need to abolish the police. We don't need police. Police are the reason we have crime. We have to abolish the police. Well, we've seen what happened when they tried defunding the police in areas where they did that. Crime went through the roof. Murder, rape, homicide. theft. All of it went up. Then they start scrambling, trying to get the police back. Oh, it's not working. People aren't signing up anymore. Oh, because the politicians will turn their backs on them and throw them under the bus, even if innocent, if it makes the politician look better so he can get himself reelected. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Sandwich of Coherency. If you'd like to hear the full podcast episode, you can find us on thesandwichofcoherency.com. Link will be down in the description.